We find that if we approach it more from an industry education perspective, they very quickly are able to draw their own conclusions in terms of the maturity or experience level or investment that an integrator or manufacturer may have made in their quality processes. So it's a lot of time. When you describe the quality management process to a customer, it can be a bit nebulous at times. But when you bring them to a staging facility and you walk them through and you say, this is a part of our quality process, it starts to click.
Scary AV installs and how to prevent them. New leadership at Diversified. And BuyAmp buys out Clear One patents. All that and more. Next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 741, recorded Friday, October 31st, 2025. Network Effect. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. We have an acquisition, sort of, CEO moves, and new experience centers. Let's get into it. Our top story, BuyAmp has made headlines this week. The Oregon-based manufacturer has announced plans to acquire the assets of Clear One, including its intellectual property, trademarks, and product brands. Clear One, once a major player in the conferencing and audio distribution areas, filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. BuyAmp's acquisition ensures the technology that Clear One has developed will live on in BuyAmp products. We asked Joe Andrulis, Executive Vice President of Corporate Development for BuyAmp, what this deal means for BuyAmp, what it means for Clear One, and what it means for the industry.
Clear One as a company has making a strategic change in its direction. In the course of doing that, they realized there was a number of their traditional assets associated with professional audiovisual that wouldn't be needed in that, and then they offered them for sale. And BuyAmp was the winner of that bidding process. And what we acquired in there was a material section of their assets associated with their Pro AV business. So what did that include? It included patents, product designs, portions of even their existing inventory levels, including things like that go along with all of those, like the manuals and training documentation and things of all that. So it's really products and things associated with those products.
Diversified has announced the appointment of Paul Lidsky as its new Chief Executive Officer. Now, Lidsky brings extensive leadership experience from technology and communication firms, including his tenure as CEO at Datalink and recent board roles across the IT sector. He succeeds Eric Hutto, who led Diversified through a period of strategic realignment and post-pandemic recovery. Lidsky's focus will be on driving growth in digital media, managed services, and global expansion, areas where Diversified continues to be a top systems integrator worldwide. The leadership change reflects the company's effort to balance its traditional AV integration strengths with emerging needs in IT, cloud collaboration, and managed services. Crestron has opened a new experience center at its European headquarters in Mechelen, Belgium. The facility is designed to showcase Crestron's latest technologies across corporate, education, and residential markets, with immersive demo spaces for lighting control, automation, and hybrid meeting solutions. The center acts as both a customer engagement hub and a training environment for partners and end users. It's part of Crestron's continued investment in localized experience spaces around the world, following similar launches in New York, Dubai, and Singapore. The company says the new facilities reflects growing European demand for smart workplace and residential technologies, giving visitors hands-on access to systems that blend AV, IT, and building management. Infocom America Latina 2025 wrapped its first edition with strong attendance and, according to the group, enthusiastic feedback from the region's pro AV community. The event, held in Mexico City, marked AVIX's expansion of the Infocom brand into Latin America. Infocom America Latina saw more than 5,000 verified attendees, with over 100 brands from across the world exhibiting. According to organizers, the show drew integrators, manufacturers, and technology managers from across Central and South America, with education sessions and product showcases focusing on unified communications, digital signage, and live event production. Industry leaders say the success of the inaugural show highlights the region's growing investment in professional audio-visual infrastructure. That's your AV News. Stick around for this week's roundtable discussion where we will discuss AV install nightmares and expanding trade show focus. This is AV Week.
Hey listeners, it's your AV sneakerhead, Jennifer Weaver. Listen to AV Career Masterminds, where I chat all things job-related in the audio-visual industry. You can find AV Career Masterminds where you subscribe to podcasts.
All right, welcome back. With us, discuss the news and information and some really, really interesting stories. First and foremost, my buddy Steph Beckett from Rave Pubs. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, I'm excited to be here. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. And now I get to play on the other side because Steph has had me on her show on several Wednesday mornings. So now I get to have her on this side. So that's pretty cool. Also with us is my buddy Mr. Brad Hensey from Crestron. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. So great to see you.
And last but not least, a young man I have known and admired for a long time, and his first time on AV Week, and it's on Halloween, and he is dressed up as Waldo, no less. Jeremy Alcester from Level 3. Welcome, sir.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for having me, Tim.
If you were not watching the video, stop listening to the podcast and just go to YouTube, because the rest of this is very impressive. I will say I am dressed up as Jeremy Alcester because if you've ever seen him in an industry event, he's wearing a vest because vests are cool, and that's all I have to say about that. All right. First story, it's Halloween. We are recording this on the 31st of October, so we're going to lean into that whole thing. We wrote a piece this week on AV install nightmares, and a couple of things about that statement and that term really quickly. There's a fantastic group on Facebook. Yes, youngins, I said Facebook. Ask your parents for their login. Go to Facebook and go to AV Install Nightmares. It's fantastic, and it is filled with nothing but really horrible installs. So I took that idea, and I'm like, okay, how do we prevent this, right? How do we prevent the projector that's mounted to another projector with, like, lug nuts, right? How do we prevent, zip ties holding up speakers? And that's just two examples, just for the record. So Steph, I'm going to start with you on this. When you talk with manufacturers, but also talk with end users, Steph also heads up the AV Buyers Club, which we do a lot of stuff with. When you look at this, how do IT and AV managers navigate not getting this?
That's a really good question because AV and IT managers, there's such a wide range of jobs and they have such a wide range of experience, right? So some of them have been in the game and are basically in-house integrators and have been here for 10 plus years. Other ones kind of come in not necessarily not knowing a lot about AV, but not necessarily having all of the training that others do. So I do think it can get easy to slip into an AV install nightmare if you don't know a lot about the integrators that you work with, if you don't know a lot about the manufacturers either. And there is kind of a problem with communication in our industry. We are all in our own silos. It's being broken down. We're working on it, but I do think that if you're new and you're coming in and it's already really siloed, it's hard to get out of that, and you could very easily end up with a nightmare. Because if you're not talking to your integrator and your integrator is not talking to the manufacturer and you're not talking to the manufacturer, okay, well then who's updating everything? Like, who's to say this isn't running something that was sunsetted 2 years ago, and then when you go to do an update, oh no, this broke, but now the camera doesn't work. Oh, well, now the touch panel won't communicate with that. So it seems to just be like a slippery slope, and I think to fix it, it's like communication.
I love the fact that Jeremy and Brad are both nodding their heads yes. So Hensey, we'll pick on you first, and then we'll get Jeremy's. She's not wrong. We're in the communications business, and there are times that we just don't flat out communicate. So how do we get around that deal? How do we make sure that not just everybody's talking together, but you're sharing information? You're sharing information from the manufacturer down to the actual person who's going to use the stuff, right? Because we can talk about end users, but the folks that are in the IT department are going to say there's an end user, right? So how do we get that? How do we communicate that? And how do we convey all the information that's needed?
Yeah, it is definitely clear communication around what are your expectations for the space. Let's document what we're after. And then if you're an end customer, go build a relationship with the manufacturer and the integrator concurrently, right? We as a manufacturer, we invest a ton of time and energy into relationships with end customers and with our integrators so that we can go in and partner together in taking care of that end customer. So that's a really great step to stay up to date, is for an end customer to build that relationship with both the integrator and the manufacturer. It's also a good opportunity to ask the manufacturer, hey, does this integrator know what they're doing? Have they been doing other projects, right? And, just doing a little bit of due diligence is also always helpful. Checking on the manufacturer site, is that actually a certified integrator? All of these things, doing that due diligence up front can help ensure that you're working with the right kind of partner, and that they have familiarity with those kinds of projects. And then just stay in contact, and I think that will go a long way to helping people find much more success with their installs.
Jeremy, a little bit more pointed off of Steph's statement there is we don't communicate well. There are a couple of groups in the industry that encourage like-minded individuals. HETMA is one of them, right? The higher education folks, they share information amongst themselves. I could be wrong, right? And Brad, you can correct me because you're a manufacturer. I don't think there's a manufacturer version of HETMA, right? There's not an integrator version of HETMA. Maybe NSCA would be that, right? But we don't have a whole lot of the councils that we had inside of AVIXA much anymore. Certainly the women's council inside of AVIXA, but there's not a whole lot of those anymore, with the exception of that one. I believe that the consultant council is still active. So Jeremy, how do IT and AV managers uncover the folks that probably shouldn't be on their campus, shouldn't be in their building, whether that's a manufacturer, right? Hey, this technology, this device is not ready for prime time, right? For whatever that means, or an integrator probably shouldn't be doing your $1 million install.
Yeah, Tim, thanks. And I will say both Steph and Brad did a great job. And I think that's a component of the answer. But from my perspective, there's two pieces to this that are two of my favorite topics. And one of them is education and one of them is quality. So as a customer, right, we have to get educated on what are the discerning questions I should be asking a manufacturer or asking an integrator, and to lean into the quality side of that, because, I represent PSNI, I represent AQAV, I represent level 3 audiovisual. We're very big into quality here. And so when you invest in quality, and I know Brad and Crestron invest very heavily in quality, they can have a very different elevated conversation about the processes that their organization has in place to manage and guarantee quality, right? And quality is a concept, right? I just want to know that the thing I bought is going to do the thing that you said it was going to do and that I thought it was going to do. But when you uncover that, what are all the things you do as a manufacturer to guarantee that that product, when it comes off the line at the end of the day, actually achieves the result that it was going to? And that's an entire discipline and practice to itself. So as customers, getting more educated in what quality management means gives you an elevated set of language that you can take to those conversations and ask some discerning questions. And you're quickly going to start to understand the manufacturers who take quality very seriously and invest a lot of money in guaranteeing that quality. And the same thing can be said for integrators. The integrators that invest heavily in quality and have a very quality-minded process, they're going to be able to articulate that much better than an integrator that maybe hasn't invested in some of those quality processes. So I think it's part getting educated as a customer, learning some of those discerning questions, but then Brad hit it in terms of leverage the community. Especially if you're coming into the industry new, it can be overwhelming and just intimidating. You do have the benefit of, if you're a customer, and with all due respect to us integrators and manufacturers, go meet other customers, go build a peer group of other customers that you can learn from that have maybe had some of these challenges and can share some of their perspective on how to avoid it. But to Brad's point as well, I ask manufacturers all the time, hey, can you just make sure that this integrator partner that we're about to use has all the right certifications in place to support the product that we're going to ask them to install, which is your product? So there is, back to Steph's point, the ability to break down those silos between all of us and really focus on the customer and making sure that the product, the integrator, the manufacturer, and the process of which that is being delivered is really putting our best foot forward to achieve what that customer is looking for.
Jeremy, I want to pick up on something, and Brad and Steph, feel free to jump in, but how do you personally, as an integrator, how do you communicate the value, though, of some of those certifications, of AQAV, of the processes that you guys put in place, if they're not familiar with those certifications, if they're not familiar with AQAV, with AV9000, if they're not familiar with what a CTS is versus a CTSD, or a manufacturer certification?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so for me, it goes back to that first point, which is educate. We spend a tremendous amount of time educating our customers, right? And using this as an opportunity to help elevate their knowledge within the industry. And we find that if we approach it more from an industry education perspective, they very quickly are able to draw their own conclusions in terms of the maturity or experience level or investment that an integrator or manufacturer may have made in their quality processes. So it's a lot of time. And, a big part of our process is we pre-stage everything. So when you describe the quality management process to a customer, it can be a bit nebulous at times. But when you bring them to a staging facility and you walk them through and you say, this is a part of our quality process, it starts to click. And I'm just going to quickly mention, Brad, if you've never done a tour of Crestron's facility, you get the exact same experience when you go through that facility of look at the processes, the procedures, the mindset, the culture of the manufacturing of the product starts to tell that story for you. So, I'm going to quickly end with, too often are we trying to get projects done too fast? And because of the speed of which we're trying to accomplish the projects, it doesn't always allow for that educational process that needs to take place. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little bit more, depending on where that particular customer is at in their journey.
Well, I think that, so like what Jeremy is saying about the certifications, as a marketing person, things become a thing only because we make it a big deal, right? We make it a thing, and we have to continue to educate the market, our end customers, even our own employees about the importance of certifications. You have to articulate what it means for them, right? I invest all of this energy in my certifications to give you a better install, right? And hey, great, you don't want to select me. Make sure whoever you do select has a similar certification, right? Put that out there. Put that on your responses to RFQs, right? Yeah. Make sure that you are putting, these are our credentials. This is a quantifiable proof point that shows I put energy into knowing what I do know, right? And that in turn will ensure that you have a good experience. And, that's why we do things like Crestron Masters, right? We have 1,500 people that come to join us for this kind of certification because it benefits them in their career, benefits them and their customers, right? And it becomes one of those badges that help a end customer select which partner should I work with.
If you had two partners, one of them with a bunch of certifications and investment in their people and one of them without, it's pretty simple. Which one are you going to pick, right?
I also just want to stress the importance of a really good kickoff call with a lot of breadth before any project, because if you join a kickoff call and it seems like the integrator is like not fully with it, it seems like the project manager didn't fully get everything set up ahead of time, like that kind of is going to give you a good idea of how the rest of that is going to go. So I definitely want to stress, like, that's going to tell you the type of person that you want to work with, is if you have a really great kickoff call and you leave that being like, I know exactly what is expected of me, about how much this is going to cost, what's going to happen. This was really, really well organized. That's pretty much going to tell you like the good integrators versus the bad.
And if you ask for a kickoff call and they don't know what that is, that would be a red flag.
100%.
What we call a leading indicator in the business.
Yeah, a leading indicator, not a lagging one. And I have slowly learned the difference between the two.
That is a KPI for sure.
Yes, Jeez Louise.
Like, I love your point, because it's that old adage, like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you've got that discerning mindset as a customer, it should be kind of obvious in the earlier processes as to whether or not you have, what you're looking for. So just wanted to point out, I love that mindset.
I love that line. I'm stealing that. All right. From Steph, well, actually from Rave Pubs. The upcoming EdTech Congress in Barcelona is going on at the exact same time as ISE. Imagine that. It is a significant step for AV and education intersection. The partnership is with ISE and EdTech clustering together with at the FIRA, February 4th and 5th. Now, here's the thing. This is not the first, let's say, side quest that ISE has gone into over the last couple of years. They have gone into smart buildings. They have gone into smart homes. They have gone into broadcast and content creation. Now it's education. Last year they kicked off security, right? And they're doing security again. Brad, I'm going to start with you because you are, Jeremy and PS and I certainly have a booth. You're a manufacturer, so you've got certainly a big presence there. What else should ISE be focused on? And not just ISE, what other areas should the rest of the rest of our trade show partners be looking at to kind of gather around and say, yes, you're a tangential part of us, or we're 100% a part of what you're doing, to kind of bring more people into the fold?
Yeah. So one of the things I love about ISE is that they have done a great job attracting so many audiences. And then that creates this network effect and brings this vibrancy to the show that really, I think, makes it much more valuable and effective for everyone. I think there are a couple of additional areas that they can look, workplace and modern work design, right? Where's the modern work summit, really talking about that workplace experience. I know we have lots of pockets of that, but is there a really hardcore focused one? Healthcare is another one where you could see, how is our industry serving that market well? We have a big market, or a big set of customers within government, and so how about bringing them into the show to see everything that we have together? So I think those are a couple of additional markets where the weight of the show that exists would bring value to a focused conversation for that. Hospitality is another one, right?
Oh, I was going to say that.
Right? Sorry, I stole your answer,
okay.
Steph. We did a little mini hotel crestron one year, and it was very popular. And so I think that's another one that I think would certainly benefit. There's so much leverage that happens when you can co-locate all of these things at one time, right? And helps us get more from our investment. But, if you have a government customer, if they went to just a government focused show, it's going to be smaller, right? Yeah, but if 100%. They can come to a show that has the full breadth of the AV ecosystem, then they can bring more AV technologies into the government sector that might not have shown up at a government show, right? As an example. So, yeah, I think there are plenty of other new opportunities to help continue to grow ISE.
100% gonna agree with Brad about hospitality. I would also say other like light commercial and like, you know, like we say resi-mercial, but I really mean like commercial light or like commercial
I 100% am on board
technology.
with the term resi-mercial. Don't anybody give you crap, okay?
Okay.
Really? Oh, I was no.
No,
Right.
it's
No, I
fine. feel
feel like anytime I've said something like buzzwordy recently, like someone threatens to kill my whole family. So I'm like, okay, don't.
you send them to me, and we'll take care of it from there.
You need to hang out with nicer people stuff.
You're right. You're right.
I'll make fun of you for silly words like resi-mercial, but I won't threaten to kill your family.
That's so sweet, Brad. Thank you so much for saying that.
Bar is really low, Hensy.
Really breaking down those barriers on this show, guys. I'm proud of us.
I just want to say, I think like light commercial is a really interesting area of AV right now. A lot of like restaurant installs, places that typically put consumer shit into like their installs, and then they're like, no, that doesn't work. Like, what do you mean this TV that I got from Costco isn't going to work for digital signage and I have it on 24/7, huh?
Nope.
So the more that we can get those kind of people, I think, attending a show like ISE, the more that I think we will see fewer, install nightmares in the future.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, bringing it all together.
Good crossover. Yeah.
All right, Elsesser, you've got the ear of Mr. Blackman and the rest of the ISE team. Not just we're picking on Mike, but the rest of the trade shows that we all attend or at least watch throughout the year. What other verticals do we need to kind of bring in?
I can't say I have much more to add than what Brad and Steph has brought on, and actually they have opened my eyes a little bit in walking through ISE the last few years. There's been plenty of times where the vertical or the technology just didn't apply to my business as an integrator, so it was hard for me to understand or see the value in it. And Brad and Steph are opening my eyes as to where the value is, especially as long as we are not bringing any like residential level products or consumer products and we're keeping it commercial. There's such an opportunity there to bring an additional group of customers to the broader AV market. And I hadn't even really considered it from that perspective, because a lot of these other areas might not be a vertical that I'm particularly focused in. So, okay, that's the level 3 hat. Now let me put on the PSNI hat, which has hundreds of integrators in it that serve all kinds of different vertical markets. So the opportunity to get more end users, and I'm tying it back to the AV Install Nightmares, education about the broader industry, that's a huge opportunity. So, I mean, just keep going down the list. Healthcare, hospitality, any industry that you can bring a group of people together around technology and bolt it on to the larger event, it's now becoming very clear to me how much of a win that is to get more people into the space, because we all know many customers don't even know that this bigger commercial audiovisual ecosystem exists, and it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, it is. I got into the habit of every other year I attend CES, totally different show, right? And the first time I went, I had an old friend of mine who has done CES for 30 years. Complained to me that CES has gotten big, right? It's gotten too big. There's all this stuff. It's this just amorphous thing, right? And I went and I'm like, okay, I see this section over here. There was smart tractors, for crying out loud, the first time I went, right? John Deere, and it was fantastic, especially as a kid from Illinois who I live around soybeans and corn, for crying out loud. So it was really, really fascinating seeing, the smart tractors and the smart cars and all this stuff. But I could see what they were doing, again, from the standpoint of there was this section over here that was talking about automotive technology. There was this section over here that was talking about healthcare and technology. There was certainly, the ginormous Samsung and TCL booths, absolutely. But you've got this, there were all these different, let's call them federated shows or federated areas. And that's kind of what I feel that the ISE has done, quite frankly, since Amsterdam, right? They have done this since Amsterdam. I remember they did a yacht show a couple of years in a row, right? So they kind of brought things together and go, yeah, you might think that you're in the yacht business, but you're in the technology business, and they happen to send on a boat. That's awesome, right? So yeah, I kind of, not saying that ISE is CES by any stretch, but that whole kind of, bringing all these different congruent things together that they kind of overlap each other like a Venn diagram, I think is kind of cool.
It is very cool, but the word of caution is you can't lose the identity. Right.
Absolutely.
With EdTech, this is great because it's very clearly focused on delivering value to that audience, through the education lens. But we're leveraging the investments of the rest of the industry for showcasing the technology. So I think ISE has done a great job at helping these pockets retain a very focused identity and theme and conversation, versus, some of the other shows that have just done a land grab and let's just throw a bucket of people into this big convention hall, right? And then it's like, well, why are we all here?
There's a couple like that. I probably shouldn't name names anyhow.
No,
we're all reading each other's minds right now.
we all know.
Find me at a trade show and I'll tell you which one. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Steph Beckett, thank you. Glad to have you on my show from time to time. It's fantastic. How do people connect with you and how do people connect with Rave Pubs?
Yeah, sure. I am being better at being active on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there. I'm also on Twitter, and ravepubs.com is where you can read all of our news, and we are also on virtually every social media that there is, so you can find us there too.
Mr. Hensey, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you or Crestron?
Crestron.com, of course. Also, Crestron on all of the socials, and then you can follow me on LinkedIn as well.
Mr. Elsesser, finally, very nice to have you on. And I almost said Elmo. Good Lord. And Waldo. How do people connect with you or Level 3?
Yeah, we try to make it really easy to find this Waldo, right? So I'm on LinkedIn, of course, personally, and then Level 3AV.com, and all of the various socials. Love to connect.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere. Although I will tell you, if you want to read things that I write about that has nothing to do with AV or technology, you are more than welcome to follow me on LinkedIn, but do so at your own risk. But go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. In fact, you'll find one special I did with Mr. Hensey not too long ago, so you can check that out. If you are watching on YouTube and you're tired of looking at me, you can go just listen to us, but I wouldn't suggest it because then you would lose Elsesser's Get Up. And if you're just listening to us and you want to see Elsesser's Get Up, go check us out on YouTube. But either YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. Thanks for grabbing us. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's A State of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control, programming, and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out A State of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.